to record for. I forget about it, and I guess we
Is
got
it the
like
Plaza Theater?
a.
Is that the one in Atlanta
Yes,
that you're?
Plaza Theater,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Just had to look it up. Yeah.
While we're waiting for Luke to sit
So,
back down, I guess I'll flash my outside of the art installation. I got the 2,000 yen bowl of vegan ramen. That was kind of exciting.
no.
There we
Wow,
go.
that's insane.
That's,
Whoa.
oh,
All right.
hello.
It
All
has like a
right.
apparently has a Michelin star for like the ramen truck.
Wow.
I mean,
Or at least it's
yeah,
in the
for
guide. I don't know if that means it has a star or not, but it's in the guide.
Yeah.
we just got Michelin coverage. We just got Michelin stars here for the first time like a year ago. So
Oh.
I'm learning all this stuff where there's the recommended restaurants, the restaurants that have
Uh-huh.
the star, and then there's the restaurants that are the what's Bib Gourmand, which is like
Mm-hmm.
affordable. And then
Okay, that's what the ramen had.
it
Yeah.
was okay, yeah. But those are like the norm, those are the places to go because a lot of those places I already knew about where it's like that's the place where normal people can eat normal
Right. Okay.
food,
Still a little
Right.
expensive, but it's good.
Right.
but it was a whole, it was a whole thing where like, well, I used to love this place and now I'm not going to be able to get a reservation there, but
Right. Right.
still pretty cool that
Uh,
we get some
yeah, I
attention.
did. I thought too late because I didn't. I had to go to Tokyo to do my passport or whatever. So, but yeah, I only thought like a day or two before. Gee, I should make reservations for stuff. So I kind of lucked out with the team lab. But yeah, restaurants were kind of. I looked at the place where you pay like $100 for pizza, but
Sure. Why
God.
not?
well, it's like
There-
it's like the top 10 in the world or something. So, but yeah, you
I-
gotta you gotta get that in advance.
I'll never forget reservations again after my friend had us go up there to celebrate her birthday in Salem, Massachusetts in the middle of October.
Oh, I've been
Uh,
there. Yeah.
oh, did you just go there and not plan anything or buy any advance tickets because you can't do that?
I don't remember. It's 20 years ago.
Oh, you can't.
I remember
Okay,
being very
maybe 20
crowded
years
though.
ago.
I just
But
remember being very
yeah,
crowded.
8 years ago it was like, well, you show up and you can't do anything. Well,
Okay.
we did the House of Seven Gables tour, which was really cool, but
I think I did
nothing
stuff then.
Halloweeny.
I guess we should bop into this movie, which is number
Hmm.
60, Luke, if you're keeping track.
How long have you been recording?
Like when you stood up is when I hit record.
Okay. I was like, did you record all of
We're waiting
that?
for you to leave.
I did not record all of that, so people did not get to hear about restaurants in excruciating detail.
They have to imagine it.
That's the
Yeah,
only kind of detail that I like when it comes to restaurants.
right on.
Yeah, man.
In at number 60, it's a film that belongs in a museum.
I guess it's on a film registry. Is that like a museum? Does it deserve to be shoved in
I
It's
a
definitely in a
large
museum
warehouse?
somewhere.
It's in warehouses. I bet it's in many warehouses, like prints of it are.
If this is based on serials from the 40s, then it's about halfway to the 40s. So think about that. That's
I'm
weird.
still thinking about that. I didn't follow you to be honest, so that's cool.
I mean, this is half as old.
Oh,
This
as
is
the
as old
cereals.
now as the 40s were when it was made.
Oh, you're
Yep.
doing okay. You're making us all feel old. That's what you're doing. Okay,
Nice.
You
got
did
you.
say it in a very
Yes.
strange way.
I'm trying to make everybody turn into skeletons and melt and then scream and explode.
In different ways. Yes, it's Raiders
Yes.
of the Lost Ark on Films and Filth, the Citizen Kano podcast, and we call it the Raiders of Podcasting today. That's what we're doing. It's Matt here.
It's Mark.
It's Luke.
We're keeping with the biblical theme. It is John Champion from Mission Log over there. Hi, how's it
I
going?
love it. I'm so glad that I get to complete our biblical quad here. That's really important to me.
This is a good
Oh,
one. Although
this is an
our-
Old Testament
yeah,
movie
yeah,
today,
that's
so-
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
The
new
sequel.
looks at
Yeah.
the old. Yeah.
Biblical wrath is in this.
Uh-huh.
Another film where I was like, do I actually need to watch this before doing the podcast? Which I did, but it's one of those films you can play in your head, or I can. Like I watching it, I was enjoying it, but I was like, gee, there are things I haven't seen I could be watching, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
I was in a similar position. But I did chuck it on last night. And I noticed something I'd never noticed before, so it was worth watching.
There you go. I about a year ago, my daughter got interested in that, and we got the Blu-ray set, which doesn't have the newest one because it's too old for that. But yeah, we've been
Yeah, I was
indieing around
about
the
to say
house
a year
recently.
ago we watched this one and then the new one.
Yeah.
I keep threatening we need to watch Last Crusade as well, but we haven't yet.
Oh, how's that a threat? Yeah.
Oh,
Some days that one's
yeah,
better, It depends on your
yeah.
mood,
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
Great
same.
movie.
I love Last
Yeah,
Crusade.
And
kind
I,
of.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying I have an affinity for Temple. Some days I'm in the mood for Temple. Not every day, but some days. Sorry, John,
I
go ahead.
mean the original trilogy I'll take at any point, and same as the both of you. Like I didn't need to watch this, but I'm actually really glad that I did because I need to remind myself to watch things that I love. I have to like professionally I have to watch stuff that I enjoy very much, but I also need to like stop and take time and just revisit the things that I know that I love that are important to me and have been important to me since I was a little child. So I thank you for the opportunity to cover this one.
See, I have the
So,
opposite problem, and that's why this podcast exists, because I would just rewatch Terminator 2 over and over forever, unless
It's,
Matt makes me watch Citizen Kane.
it's not a bad life.
so as I've said, anyway, I watched all three of the original trilogy in reverse order, and
Mm.
this is why. Um, I had said on this podcast or some podcast that I'd never seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade before. Um, Indiana Jones is kind of the 80s franchise that I paid the least attention to because when I was a kid specifically because I never really connected with the rugged masculinity and I don't know, I was a weird kid, so I gravitated towards weird stuff like Back to the Future where everyone is a screaming weird caricature. Um so yeah, so I watched these in reverse order, and I found out that I have seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but I memory hold it or something. Um, Temple of Doom was my favorite because I was a weird kid, and it's the whatever the screaming insane one. And I hadn't watched it in a while, and I was like, opinion is kind of turned on it, public opinion. So I was kind of like, I wonder if I still love it. And I do. But watching it right between the other two, I can see the flaws in it, but I don't really care because I still think it's great. But the last couple of times I've watched Raiders, I felt like it was a little much and a little bit long, but watching it in this order somehow made me like have a renewed appreciation for it. Still think it drags a little bit in the third act, like it maybe has one too many planes going over a dotted line over a map at the very end. And I mean, I don't know. I understand I think everything else in it is so perfect that
I
that kind
think
of
it
sticks
drags at the
out.
end, and I don't think it's that. I think it's that
Too many endings.
oh yeah. It's like they get the arc, the Nazis take it back. They get the arc, the Nazis take it back. They get the arc.
Yeah.
Like maybe one too many times.
Yeah, watching it last night, I was watching the like the car chase before they get to the airplane or whatever, and or boat, whatever it was. Anyway, the point being, I was like, I don't even remember this in the movie. This is amazing stunt work. I just kind of that's the part I guess I did need to rewatch it for. I kind of remember actually how I came across these movies because I'm a little yeah. I actually got into Indiana Jones from the Marvel Comics adaptation of Temple of Doom. I got because I was I guess a little too young to go see Temple of Doom, so I had the comic adaptation. Read the hell out of that, and finally saw the movie probably on like TV or something, and then saw Raiders and saw Last Crusade when it came out in the theater. So, um, John, I think you
Yeah.
had a story. You teased a story for us about seeing this for the first time.
Yeah, this was a big deal. I mean, this is why this movie is so important to me. And I've probably seen Raiders more than just about any other movie. I mean, others come very close, and I'd have to really do some detective work to figure out if I've actually seen Star Wars or maybe The Wrath of Khan more often. But Raiders, at least for a long time, I had seen more than anything. My very first trip to California with my parents, my dad had a medical conference out here and got to do a lot of things that really shaped my interests when we were here. Stayed on board the Queen Mary for the first time, started a lifelong love affair with that ocean liner. But we were in Hollywood one day And there was this line around the block on Hollywood Boulevard up to Highland in front of the Chinese Theater. And this was before the monstrous Hollywood and Highland Mall had been built there in front of it. So here's the Chinese Theater, and right there on Hollywood, long line of people to see this new movie that we knew nothing about except Harrison Ford is in it. And if there's something with Han Solo in it, then I want to see it. So we went. We got in this line. We went into this movie with no expectation, no idea what it was. And not only did the movie blow me away and, shape my interests yet again for life, it was a movie-going experience that I had never had before because I'm sitting in this huge old movie palace and it was packed. Every seat was full. And it was such an enthusiastic crowd. And being like, 8, 9-year-old kid from Alabama going into a theater that, first of all, looks the way it does and is packed with people who were cheering at the trailers. I remember distinctly, they showed a trailer for Superman 2, and the audience went crazy, and they clapped for that. And then the credits come on for, or the opening sequence, with the credits for Raiders of the Lost Ark starts, and everybody oohs and ahs at the Paramount logo morphing into the actual mountain in the South American jungle. And they're applauding at the names on the screen. This is stuff that I had never seen before, that I had never experienced before. And to me, that shaped like, okay, this is what going to a movie should be all about, where the audience is so into it, so behind it. And I've sort of been chasing that experience ever since.
So I grew up in the UK and now live in Japan. People are quiet in films. Like in the UK, at least you'll hear the audience laugh at a joke. In Japan, they won't even do that.
Wow.
And
like so, yeah.
all
When I
of the
hear
credits at the end.
well, I used to do that in the UK, but I was the weirdo for doing that, whereas here everyone does it.
Yeah,
But yeah, like when I hear about American cinema going experiences, it's wild to me. Anyway,
well,
Mark's attempt to make us feel old didn't work on me because I was born 10 years after this film came out.
oh, wow.
It's always been
Wow.
old to me. And I couldn't tell you when I first watched it because this is just a mainstay of being on TV in the UK. Like every Christmas, every bank holiday, there's probably an Indiana Jones film on.
Yeah.
I don't remember the first time I saw it. I think it's possible that I saw the movie UHF before I saw this. Which UHF was 19. Remember, it has that incredible parody of this at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely have it. Yeah,
and I'm 99% sure that I saw Temple of Doom like 10 times before I saw this once, and that's just because Temple of Doom would come on TV. So that was, my parents were not moviegoers, so like I just got things however I could. So that was the local TV station bought that one.
Yeah, my first viewings of this and Star Wars were definitely like the primetime airings on network television.
Yep.
and by the way, having seen it in theaters a lot, and then even after the initial run, like it would pop up in different places, and I tried to go see it on the big screen whenever I could. But of course, watch it on TV, had the videotapes, absolutely, burned a hole in those. And I've got multiple, DVD and Blu-ray versions that have come out. For some reason, I decided to watch this streaming on Disney Plus, probably just because it was convenient. And only then did I realize that my TV is not actually showing me a 4K picture, which is going to take a lot of work to unravel and fix because the picture was absolute crap. And I definitely have got to get that solved. I did a lot of research trying to figure out what's going on here. Is Disney dumbing down the image because they say that you're going to get a 4K image, but no, if you're watching a 4K image that is then dumbed down to 1080, it does not look good. Fortunately, like the rest of you, I could do it from the notes in my head, but still I could muddle through.
I don't think I've actually seen this in a theater. I'm just exactly the wrong age for seeing this in a theater.
It's funny because I've seen it like 3 or 4 times in the theater, but all of them within the last 20 years. It's just when I became an adult, I was like, I'm going to see this whenever I can. So there was like a re-release, and I've seen it on 35. So
I'm now surprised this isn't a film that I've seen in the theater, considering all the classic film
I was
things
about to
going
ask if
to.
you saw it when you lived
It
next to
might
the
have
movie
come out
theater.
in the theater just as I moved to Matsumoto, and it wasn't as easy to go to those anymore.
Of course,
Or
now
have
you
I
get to
just?
live next to a castle. I mean, you live next to a movie
but
theater. Now you live next to a castle. I guess that's a nice trade up.
but as to what John was saying about the audience interaction thing, I mean, aside from the time that Captain America picked up Thor's hammer, I do love that kind of stuff, and mostly I've gotten that from horror movies. And one of the great things about these movies is that they have the audacity to just put a horror movie into
Yeah.
a movie, which is like, I wish there was more of this. Like I don't know. I feel like this would just upset people or something, but like a lot of times the third act swerve of anything just makes people mad now.
Mhm.
Where like Hereditary, I don't know if you guys have seen that, where it sort of turns into a different movie in the third act.
Sunshine, that
Yeah, I was glad because I
people
hated the
Sunshine.
movie up till then.
Wait, Hereditary or Sunshine?
Hereditary.
Oh yeah,
I
I
thought
could
I thought
definitely
it was just miserable without being scary, and I was like, why am I watching this?
that was the thing. The thing I loved about it was that I'm like, there's this nice catharsis where it turns silly at the end. I have a lot
Yeah.
of friends who hated the end of it because they're like, why did this turn silly? I hate it now. So it's like, it's gonna turn stuff polarizing immediately. But
See, I liked that, but not enough to make me not regret watching the film.
where Beau is Afraid is basically a very funny movie in the beginning, and then it turns serious, and people are more angry about that one. But anyway,
I
that's
feel
not
like
for
having a scary moment in a sort of a fun film was a bit more common in the 80s, right?
Oh,
yeah, Poltergeist,
Yeah.
and I'd say Gremlins did it a little bit. where
Gremlins did
it's
it,
just
but I
the
feel like
middle of it. But
even something like Goonies has like they stumble across some spooky skeletons,
yes,
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then Tim Burton kind of started weaving it in more. Like Pee-wee's Big Adventure has arguably, something arguably as scary as anything in this movie in the middle of it, like in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a kind of a thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is about face melting and face exploding just sort of put into comedies.
or action movies. Well, this is a movie. Everybody knows the plot too. So,
So
Luke,
you're
I
not
guess
gonna do it.
if you're gonna, well, Luke's got to summarize it, but I'm wondering if he has a bit. Do you have a bit?
I don't have a bit. I didn't have time to come up with a bit. Oh, there's a little bit of a bit at the end, I guess.
Okay.
Is there a bit? Wait and find out, I guess. I didn't really answer your question there.
This is the bit right now.
Dr. Henry Jones Jr. retrieves a golden idol from a trap-riddled temple, only for it to be stolen by his rival Belloc. He returns to the university only for the military to turn up and request his help stopping the Nazis from finding the Ark of the Covenant in the desert outside Cairo. He teams up with his old flame Marion, who has the medallion which will show the location in the map room. Indy finds the Ark. The Nazis steal the Ark. Indy steals the Ark. The Nazis steal the Ark back. And then they open it and it melts all their faces. Don't mess with Yahweh.
Nice.
That,
Okay.
oddly enough, that was the original pitch. That's how they got the studio to greenlight this movie. Yeah.
Matt, I do have a special request for this episode. You
Yaha.
sometimes end our podcast by playing out with a song.
Yeah. You want face melting,
No,
screaming?
you need to play out with Andy's song that he did for Game Show last year, where he sung about Indiana Jones to the tune of Defying Gravity from Wicked, changing the lyrics to Collecting Artifacts.
Is that the song where a guy sings about how he's an idiot?
No.
Okay, just because
It's like the
yesterday,
witch singing about something. I didn't see
okay,
the
because
movie.
yesterday my coworker's like, I watched Wicked, and they're like, Matt, you'll like the song about where someone sings about them being an idiot. Which
Oh, you will actually. Yeah, I know which one she
Okay.
means. He sings about how
Okay.
it's not worth caring about anything and you should just be an idiot because you'll be happier.
Okay.
You should stop studying at school. No, me and Mercy also went and saw Wicked at the weekend. It's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah,
I guess it
I
just
do
opened in
need to see
Japan
that.
then. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like the running theme of this podcast is that I say how much I love musicals and I just never remember to watch any new ones. Like, you guys love Sound of Music, you should watch it. I'm not going to make you watch it because it's 3 hours and it's not going to be on any list because it's 3 hours.
Um,
You know.
I guess this
Speaking
is
of
my
Nazis,
yeah.
Yeah.
Sound of
That's-
Music's where I learned what Nazis were.
I think I might have learned from this movie. This might have been where I learned.
I'm sure
what
a
Nazis
lot
were.
of people did.
Yeah.
I'm sure like an insane amount of people learned about Nazis from this.
It's kind of weird. Temple of Doom. I think they were like, intentionally trying not to do Nazis, right? Because
Well,
you know,
he wanted it to be the series that people remembered about a guy like finding treasure, and not a series people remembered about a guy fighting Nazis.
a guy punching Nazis, which
But I think we
works.
mostly we do remember it about a guy who fights Nazis now.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
I do feel like it's kind of, I don't want to use the word problematic because that's not the right word for this, but it's kind of tricky that like it's so easy to slot Nazis into anything with their obsession with the occult, and you just make the occult real. Like this is far from the only thing to do that, because like Nazis are not, because the occult, okay, it's not it doesn't do this. It's not this real.
Well,
But
and,
Nazis,
like making the
Nazis are
occult real when you're talking about
Yeah.
the Nazis. The problem is like, so were they right? Are they really descended from Aryan gods? Like,
Well,
how, how much of their belief in the occult is real in this scenario?
it does a good
Yeah.
comeuppance. They're
Yes.
they're messing with things they don't understand and they get come upped at the end. But it's they're not doing Nazi things because that would make
You
an
do see a
upsetting
bit
movie.
more of them doing Nazi things in Crusade, though. We see like a book
That's
burning
true.
and stuff.
True.
That is true.
True.
And one of
Yeah.
them is like, I don't feel comfortable with this Jewish ritual or something at the end of this. But that was a
Yeah, and they
terrible
bully the black guy
accent.
as well.
Yeah. By the
Yeah.
way, is Belloc Jewish, or did he just sort of learn the lines to?
I took it more as he
Fahrenheit?
just learned the lines because, like, they would have thrown in more mentions of the fact the Nazis were working with a Jew, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I suppose so. Yeah.
So
There's
the-
something that I really like about Temple of Doom, because the sort of the holiness of the artifacts seems more dependent upon the people who believe those things. Like, yeah, there are scientific explanations for things like they're using a mind-altering drug, and yeah, I get it. But at the end of the day, it's Indy just saying like, here, this means something to you, so you should have it, and I'm going to get back to my real life. See ya, there's something kind of strange about this, and then bookended with Last Crusade, where you have the Cup of Christ. Where we're sort of tipping our hat to, as you just pointed out, Mark, that this is real, that this thing actually happens. And that made me rethink this scene with Salah, where they're sitting up on the roof of Salah's house, and he suddenly gets very serious about it. And he is like, wait a minute, if this thing is real, are you sure you want to find it? And I'm like, Salah, there is about a 90% chance that you're Muslim. Why would you worry about a Jewish artifact
Well,
that would
the-
really, huh?
the Abrahamic religions are not so separate, right?
No, that true, but this is something that very specifically means something to this particular group of people.
But it would
And
also mean
really
something
means
to a
nothing to
Christian,
them.
right? So
Sure, yeah. But again, maybe this is my assumption, but based on the demographics of Egypt, I don't think that Salah is Christian. Maybe not, or maybe he just doesn't care. But if he's in the camp of doesn't care, why the warning to Indy? Because again, it's just sort of like it's another object. It's just another thing.
Moses is
that
a prominent
belongs in a
prophet in
museum.
Islam.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
All right.
I
Well,
just
it's still a
thought
thing
I
that-
better check that. So
It's still a thing that belongs in a museum.
yes,
You know?
I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing that has changed in terms of like cultural opinion since this film is that it belongs in a museum, but you're not meant to steal it and take it to the West and put it in one of our museums.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
very true. Yeah. Yeah, you
And-
need to move it to another museum. Yeah.
And it struck me as odd that it's always a museum. It's never or the museum. I suppose it's supposed to be the Smithsonian, but they never name the Smithsonian. But it's I don't know. That's kind of weird. It would be cool if he just had a friend whose museum it was like he was stealing everything for his one friend's like small museum.
To
That's
keep the
just in,
community
like,
That's
Ohio.
what
but
Belloc
yeah.
is apparently doing.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's the museum
as
at the
far as-
college in Indiana. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
the Indiana Museum.
Uh,
No, but it's weird. The whole Nazi thing and the occult thing. It's weird because in both this and Last Crusade, the Nazis they're not punished for being evil. They're punished for being dumb. It's Indiana
yeah,
Jones
well,
gets out fine because he's smarter than them, and they're dumb. But it's like, it's not
Well-
terribly satisfying, I guess.
I mean, at the end of the day, a dead Nazi is a good Nazi, so I enjoy the films.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and most
Like-
Nazis are dumb.
and they are pretty
Probably.
dumb. You can't be
They're
smart
dumb,
and believe the
yeah.
things they believe. Like,
You're right.
And you know, Yahweh is kind of taunting them a bit, like blurring out their logo on the box that
Yeah.
contains the Ark. So I just I wondered about that scene. It's like you're teasing the idea that Yahweh knows what's going on and knows that these are the bad guys. So I'm just going to mess with your branding before we get to the real finale, where I'm going to shoot, lightning through your eyeballs.
well, I mean, it's
That-
like,
yeah.
why didn't God help? He did. He sent Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, you can
Well,
look at
there's
it like
always
that.
the
That is
old
true.
argument that Indiana Jones could not be in this movie, and the same chain of events would mostly
So
happen.
I-
They find the
I-
pit of souls a little later in that one.
I'm glad you
Right,
bring
right.
that up because it's not correct. If
Oh.
Indy wasn't there following the Nazis to pick up the Ark after they all melted, like just some more, those ones would have died, but then some others would have come and picked it up.
So maybe
Like,
then
Indy had
all
to-
of the
and then
Nazis
they-
would in turn continuously go and get
Well,
melted.
they're dumb.
An
They're not
unending
that
loop of
dumb,
dead
right? They would have
I love
started
this
to
movie.
approach it scientifically, right?
You'd have to put orange cones around the mountain, yeah.
Yeah,
And then Joseph Joestar would have to come and defeat them instead.
right.
Well, we can arrange that.
I guess there's also the idea that they might have taken it directly to Der Fruer if Indy wasn't there, which might have been good because then it would have melted his face off. But,
Even
so he
more
might have
dead
caused the problem.
Nazis. I love this plan.
But that's without
you
Indiana
imagine?
Jones, where it goes straight to Hitler and melts his face off because
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is not meddling.
right.
Do you think that in Inglorious Bastards that the Ark of the Covenant was inside that movie theater?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, love that. Yeah, that's now
It
canon.
just did it.
Yeah.
It just did that. Yeah.
I mean, I
it's,
know that these events are canon in the first Captain America film.
Yeah, well,
They make a little
that's
oblique
another.
reference
Speaking
to.
of, yeah, speaking of movies that sidestep the Nazi thing, like that
Yeah.
one does it.
That
way
one
harder
does
than
it
this
really hard by making like
Yeah,
their own little fake inner Nazi group.
yeah.
Oh, Hitler is not ambitious enough. We're going to make super science.
Yeah, apparently,
My
even-
favorite film that sidestepped the Nazi question is the Minions movie, where the Minions serve the most evil people throughout history, but conveniently go to the Arctic for the past 100 years or so. We don't have to deal with anything too
Wow.
real.
well, Tokyo
Wow.
Tokyo Disneyland used to have a kind of carousel of progress sort of thing about Japanese history, which isn't there anymore. I think they took it out for being horribly boring. But but yeah, it goes through Japanese history, and then when it gets to the 20th century, it's like there were a few dark years, and then gets to the modern
Oh
stuff.
my God!
That
Wow.
might be the other reason they don't have it anymore.
Wow.
There were a few dark years, but now things are better. So
I mean, most of us learning about Nazis from movies, and then when I got to 7th grade, I had a social studies teacher. It was really cool. Just straight up showed us a long documentary that just showed them basically like scooping the corpses out of the concentration camp pits. I was like, well, I can't say I didn't need to see that.
But
Yeah,
how
when I
much
was
at school
12.
did you learn about what the evil things like America and England and the Allies did, right?
Oh, not much.
Not at
Nothing.
all, right?
Nothing.
I was
mean-
literally
I
just
mean,
taught the Nazis were the baddies and we were the goodies.
yeah,
Like,
there
We-
was a
not
bomb.
like
I mean, but,
we didn't fight them on any moral grounds. We just didn't like them. We were doing genocides in India the whole time.
I'll say this, but that same teacher, Mr. Lockwood, shout out if you're still alive. He showed us a documentary about Emmett Till when we saw Emmett Till's body. So, and that's set a lot of things. I mean, God, that set the whole Twilight Zone in motion, really. But yeah, it's like he definitely did not skimp on teaching us about the horrors of the civil rights struggle, at least.
In the 10th grade, my German teacher, I think 3 times during the year, he'd get lazy and put on Rise and Thaw of the Third Reich, but then we wouldn't finish it the next day, so he only saw the Rise like 3 times.
As far as you knew, they never fell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Still like that. Yeah.
This teacher also, he did not look like him, but he had the exact same voice as Mr. Garrison from South Park.
Wow.
Look different, same voice.
While we're talking Nazis, the thing that I noticed in my viewing last night that I'd never noticed before is that the little monkey is a Nazi and does a Sikh Heil at one point.
Yeah,
He indeed is. Yeah.
and he gets his too.
Yeah.
I was like, that was the moment that Mercy came down and sat and watched it with me last night. And we both just looked at each other like, huh?
I mean, I guess he gets his comeuppance because a bunch of his what do you call it? A bunch of other monkeys get their brains eaten in the next movie.
Well, also, he gets poisoned by poison dates.
Yeah, he does get bad date.
Yeah, he's not a very good Nazi, though. Like, he's not very good at being a bad monkey, because it seems to me that his alliances sort of move with his whims in the movie.
Yeah, he does
likes
actually
Marion.
behave like a monkey, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, he really likes Marion, and he's kind of, and then his handler, the guy with the eye patch, just I guess doesn't care if he's going to get poisoned. Here, I'll poison this stuff. Yeah, don't touch it. Oh. Too bad.
Yeah, Frank Welker voiced the monkey, Megatron.
And then you learn that Spielberg grew up with a monkey in the house.
Wait, he did?
Okay.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's in the Fablemans, but the Fablemans, it's mostly stuff from his life. And apparently, at one point, his mother, who was very mercurial, bought a monkey, and they had a monkey living with them, so he was used to monkeys. I don't think that's the monkey in the movie, but yeah, maybe.
No. That sounds like about 2% fun idea and 98% just utter chaos. That sounds awful.
Well, in
I
my
can't
classes,
remember the name, but I'm always reminded of there was a psychiatrist who tried raising a monkey alongside his children to see if it would become more human, but instead his children just became more chimp, and he had to give up the experiment.
Did he give up the kids too? Like,
I think they recovered once they were not living day and night with a chimpanzee brother.
Well, I just walked when I was in Tokyo last weekend. I walked by an elementary school, which apparently is the most affluent school in elementary school in Japan, right? That if you're going to go to Tokyo University, you start there. And of course, they're rich kids, and they were just going nuts on the playground in like little Armani uniforms. And I was like, oh my God, even, Luke and I teach a lot of crazy kids, and these kids were like off the chain. I guess it's like no one can yell at them because their parents are diet members. I don't know.
They all live with monkeys.
Yeah.
The last one of them.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was thinking they were probably living with monkeys because they certainly were. Yeah, it was like just like insane. Yeah.
So, I really noticed, like, I've always known how good the cinematography is in this movie, but I really noticed it this time compared with the other two. Even though same cinematographer for all three of these, but Douglas Slocum. This was sort of towards the end of his career, like his last movie was Last Crusade. But yeah, he also did Never Say Never Again and Rollerball, the good one, not the one we're going to talk about.
Yeah. That's interesting because I think Never Say Never is not, I mean, there's a lot to be said about that movie, but I don't think that its cinematography is particularly outstanding. There's a couple of great shots, but not much more than that. Yeah. And hearing that he shot all three of the indie movies, there must be some big technological changes between 1981 and 1989, because those movies look very different. And I feel like Raiders is sort of the sweet spot for telling a modern audience what it was like to experience an action-adventure serial in the 1930s. And part of that has to do with the way it was shot. So it's modern techniques, it's modern equipment, but you have this pacing, you have these establishing shots, you have these details that just feel like it's something from a different time. And by the time you get to The Last Crusade, I feel like everything's amped up a little bit because, okay, now everybody's on board with Indy anyway, and we're going to do this big send off. And it just is a little more slick, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
This
is
one
Spielberg.
feels like 100% like a passion project
Yeah. Yeah.
for like
I mean,
everyone
it pretty much
involved.
is.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is
that's
kind
as I understand it, right?
Well, for
Well,
Lucas,
the
for
whole thing
Spielberg,
was
it's kind of
Lucas. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying for Lucas, yeah, as a passion project. For Spielberg, it was kind of like I hope I'm not deep sixing my career because if you remember, the movie before this was 1941, which actually did did make a little bit of a profit, but yeah, it's not a fun movie to watch. It doesn't have a good reputation now, and you know, it went over budget, over time, all that sort of stuff. So the point of Raiders was like Spielberg showing like, okay, I can do it in budget and on schedule, you know. So they storyboarded the whole thing, all that sort of thing. So this is almost like I think production for this got underway before it was clear 1941 was like a flop. But yeah, this if this had not gone well, that would have been, you know, flame out Wunderkind. He'd be more of an Orson Welles figure, and as opposed to Hollywood, you know,
Wow.
uh, impresario or
Well,
whatever.
Yeah.
the story goes that every time George Lucas had a movie premiere, which I think Star Wars was his third or second, he
Third,
just went to Hawaii to run away from the press and run away from, you know, and I think he really thought Star Wars was going to be received negatively. And this time Spielberg went along with him. And apparently, as they were building a sandcastle together, Spielberg confided that he really wanted to direct a James Bond movie. And then George Lucas was like, well, you know, instead of that, how about you direct this story that I have, which is a better story about Raiders of the Lost Ark?
why are you giving
Which-
George Lucas that much energy?
I can't turn it down, man. I
It
had
was so
energy drink
close.
before we started. Yeah, I could not commit to the George Lucas. I apologize, George Lucas. I know you're disappointed. But so that's basically they're like, yeah, and it makes sense. This does feel like let's do an Indiana Jones because it has these very specific parameters. I don't know how else to put it. It's an adventure based on one guy that has very specific parameters, maybe more specific than James Bond even, because I don't know if you could slot Indiana. I feel like if you slot Indiana Jones into something like the 70s, then it turns into something different.
Well,
Maybe
they, as we
They-
saw, right?
They just put out a movie about that.
I didn't see the fifth one. I'm
But like,
sorry.
yeah.
I will eventually.
Well,
But I haven't
the
seen it.
fourth one they made a point of like, oh, this one is set in a different time, so we're
Yeah.
going for like it's the commies, not the Nazis, and it's UFO stuff instead of ancient ruin stuff because that's what people were into in the 40s.
Cool.
And then the
Grease and
fifth
Mutt
one is a
Williams.
bit more like, oh, actually, let's just go back to the Nazis. That's what people want to see.
and Last Crusade was sort of a little bit of a let's just do the apology tour. And I did appreciate that Last Crusade, if they made Last Crusade now, it would be like constantly like dramatic shots of Indiana Jones saying goodbye to people as he talks. You know, it's like they don't hammer the finality of it like at all, which is great because I hate that stuff. It's so annoying to me when they're like have to just this is it, this is the end, we're all going to die. You know, it's just let a story
Say that.
happen. Give me a story.
I have a student who's a little bit of a little jokester.
Mhm.
And yesterday I told him it was our last lesson of this school year. So he got out his phone and started playing I'll See You Again from the Fast and Furious as he left.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he was being really sincere about it,
No.
that would be different.
Well, that
But,
film is being super sincere, but on the other hand, the actor did die. It's not just like
That's
our
okay.
contracts ran
That's
out.
fair.
Sure.
Yeah, and he died
Sure.
driving even.
Yeah.
But I did not hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I only saw it the once when it came out. I was on kind of a bad date.
I'm kind of in the
that
same
did
boat
not
where I've
affect it.
seen it once and I think I liked it, and I don't care to challenge that position. I
Yeah,
definitely didn't like it
it's
as much
fine.
as these, right? Like,
I liked it better than the Star Wars prequels. I could confidently say that.
I don't even know if I'd go that far because it's just at least the Star Wars prequels have action scenes where you can tell the actors are in them doing things. This
Yeah.
just has
Okay.
Indiana
Fair
Jones
enough.
sitting in different chairs while CGI happens around him.
Yeah, I could not bring myself to watch Crystal Skull a second time, and I just remember there's only a couple of movies in my lifetime where I just feel the crushing weight of my own experience as time passes, and Crystal Skull is one of those experiences. Prometheus is the other one, but at least Prometheus kept me going for a little while, and really what it was it was like just stepping out of the cinema into the corridor, and every step that I took felt heavier and heavier, and I was more filled with regret of the time that I had spent watching that movie, because then I had time to think about what I had just seen. Crystal Skull, I remember being so excited, like it took me back to that 1981 feeling. I'm in a theater, it's crowded, everybody here is excited. When the first bit of music started to play, I just, oh my God, like this is time travel. I am back in my 8-year-old body watching this movie. And then it all went downhill from there. And I just remember scene after scene after scene, just feeling my soul leave my body as it was only just a husk sitting there in the chair at the end. So I cannot bring myself to watch it again. That said, 5, Dial of Destiny,
I liked it. It was all right.
I liked it quite a bit. And it came at a good time for me when I needed to see something, again, that was escapist, that also took me back to that time of something that I enjoyed as a kid. I think there are legitimate criticisms that anybody can have about that movie, but overall, I think they nailed the things that I needed for them to nail. So I will watch that one again. I haven't watched it again since it came out, but I will, and I will not watch Crystal Skull again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see, I'm like,
I
I'll
just
watch
did not
Dial of
have the time. I watched
Yeah.
3 2-hour movies. I did not have an additional 2 hours and 34
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
I like James Mangold. It's just one of those things I haven't gotten around to. I haven't played the video game yet. I don't know
I've
if you
heard
have,
the
like-
video game is like that's the new Indiana Jones everyone's been waiting for.
I mean, it's the Wolfenstein people.
Yeah.
I trust them to do that.
Well, and
even though
also
it's-
Indiana Jones, even when it's not an Indiana Jones video game, has had a huge influence on games. Like that
Mhm.
opening running through the temple, setting off traps, escaping the boulder. That's
Oh,
pure
sure.
video game level.
Yeah,
And before video
yeah.
game levels existed in that way. Like,
Yeah.
That's why Prince of Persia was so popular in the electronic stores in the late 80s,
Yeah,
because it
and
kind of felt like
Pitfall.
that sequence. Yeah.
Yeah. But you wouldn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
Pitfall.
yeah.
That's true.
and then more recently, like Tomb Raider, Uncharted. But even like
Yeah, that's true.
less directly riffing on that, Mario, Zelda, it's the same shtick, right? Going through going through a trap-filled little puzzle dungeon and doing the thing.
Yep.
Very true.
So,
Um,
like, I don't know how many good Indiana Jones games there've been, but there's plenty of games that just are Indiana Jones without being Indiana Jones.
I mean, there's a classic Atari arcade game based on Temple of Doom from the 80s where it has voice synthesis. So it's got the guy going, call him out. And then you're like whipping cages to release children. And then you ride like a minecart that controls absolutely horribly. And I don't know, it's still fun. It's pretty violent for like for stuff from that era. Like you whip a skeleton and it falls apart, stuff like that.
How
But,
deep are you guys in the old school serials? I mean,
I watched a couple of sci-fi
very.
ones with you, and I think I've
Yeah.
watched some like Batman ones off my own back, but otherwise, no.
Yeah, because I was usually a sci-fi ones, the Flash Gordon, the Buck Rogers, or
Yeah.
Dick Tracy, Batman, the characters. I guess the only one I've seen that really has the Indiana Jones vibe would be Zorro's Fighting Legion, which I really did love that as a kid. But
Yeah, I mostly have watched sci-fi serials. I wasn't into like the Jungle Explorer, adventurer kind of serials, but even just going by the sci-fi ones, it kind of, I don't know, they capture the world, but they also modernize it for the audience of the 1980s. Um, I it has the right feel. I mean, especially going back to that opening sequence, like that is such a brilliant way to introduce his character and just establish the world that he's in. Everything that we get from, the moment that we go from the Paramount logo until we get him back at college. Like everything about that tells you pretty much everything you need to know about the character. And that is a sequence that, again, it's modernized. It is definitely slicked up a bit, but that is the kind of thing that you can take out of an old serial. It's just about getting from point A to point B, get the thing, be cool while doing it, So that I think they succeeded in that goal of reinventing a serial for a new audience.
Because I'm trying to think of a distilled action scene like that. I mean, now we get them, half them blockbusters try to open up with a sequence along those lines, right? What's
Yeah.
the close? I guess
I
that's
think
the
Mission
James Bond
Impossible's
thing.
good at it, and Bond, yeah.
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 Yeah,
There-
Because a lot of the
yeah.
superhero films don't do it because they have to have an origin. And same
Yeah.
for a lot of sci-fi stuff, right? They don't want to blow their load on whatever creature or robot or thing they're going to show you, so they don't tend to start with their big sequence.
Yeah. And those.
Whereas because Indiana Jones, James Bond, you know, the big creature is just Harrison Ford. And even here, they tease showing you his face for a while, right?
That's because you
Yeah.
know what he
Yes,
looks like.
it's great. No, it's
Oh, yeah, it's
great.
amazing.
That's fantastic. I wish they did that with the other Indiana Jones movies, to be honest.
And I want
It's
to
like
this
the
came out
diff-
between Star Wars and Empire, right?
After
Yes.
Empire?
No, after Empire.
After Empire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing how, like, look at Harrison Ford in A New Hope, and look at him here, and just what a leading man he's become.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing about that opening is that you give Indy a sense of danger by not showing his face, and the guy behind him is just going to off him because he can, and then he turns around with the whip. Like again, you give him this sense of danger, but for the rest of the movie, you're also kind of poking holes in that. You're really humanizing him a bit the rest of the way you go. And something that I so appreciate about this movie, which I think they don't really break it until you get to Last Crusade, is that the humor here is really toned down and it is really earned with the characters. There is nothing here that is a joke. There's nothing that's played as a wink to the audience, like we're more clever than you, except for one thing, which I think is complete genius, and that is the coat hanger.
Oh, I love
That there's the thing I noticed for the first time in this one.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? I remember that from my first viewing of this movie, and I thought it was just so inspired, so great, because there's a sense of danger again right there, and then you just kind of poke a hole in it. But it never actually breaks the fourth wall to the extent that you feel like they're winking at the audience, and I really appreciate that. Indy is never played as dumb, but he's also never really played as a superhero. He is a working guy, better at what he does than most other people, but also like, man, when he's sitting in that truck and that bullet grazes him, but then some other Nazi bastard gets in the seat and punches him where he got shot, like that, you can feel that. You can feel that in a way that in other action adventure movies, a lot of characters just don't, they don't acknowledge when they're hurt. And this is terrific. Followed up also brilliantly by the scene in the boat where he has had the crap kicked out of him over and over
just
again.
reminded me of the earliest time I can remember seeing this film. I think it would have been around Christmas. So my whole family, me, mum, dad, maybe my brother and sister were born, I'm not sure, sitting down in the living room watching it together. We get to that scene and my dad feels it's the time to make a joke, and he goes, "Doesn't hurt here."
Oh,
What's it?
oh my God.
Oh boy.
Listeners, just guess where Luke pointed.
Yeah.
There's a yeah, we all I love that Spielberg is great at this, and so is James Cameron at basically the good guy characters in this film. Well, all of the Indiana Jones films are kind of like dirty, foul-mouthed kind of jerks, but like every bad guy, every like objectively bad guy is extremely boring.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the banality of evil thing, but it's like it's subtle enough that you don't think about it the first time you watch it, but like watching it this time I was like, "Oh yeah, the Nazis are really boring." When that guy
That's
is
such a real thing as well, like for a Nazi to
Yeah.
be like, typical liberal to get, you know,
yeah, yeah,
getting
it's,
emotional. Oh, you can't have a rational debate with me when I'm saying that you should be exterminated. How typical.
yeah, it's like good people have emotions, and emotions kind of make you into maybe a hard drinking asshole some of the time, you know. But
Like
It's-
empathy is a strength.
yeah,
See?
but
Yeah.
empathy makes you, you know, hurt. It makes you get wounded a whole bunch, and then get smashed in the face with a mirror sometimes, and such and trusting a monkey you shouldn't trust, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't talked about the incredible just shooting the guy scene that came about because everybody had had like a stomach
The
bug,
runs. Yeah.
and Harrison Ford
Yeah.
was just like, "What if I just shoot this guy?"
Tom Selleck
That was one of
would've
those
fought him.
things. That's one of those things that will always. The first time I saw that, like that will always stick in my head. It's like, oh my god, I can't. That was like one of those things. This is possible with storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Say the audience cheered. You know, again, that's
Yeah.
just one of those moments that the audience cheered. And by the way, it's not just that is such an inspired, great moment for the character, but for the cadence of that whole chase scene, which is great. You know, at the beginning here, we were talking about the pacing a little bit and things that maybe felt like they ran too long or the third act is stretched out a bit. I sat here watching this, constantly playing the home version in my head, like, oh yeah, then they go from this scene to that scene. Oh yeah, and then they go from here to there, you know. But the whole time I was doing that, I was still amazed at how it moved along at such a good clip. And when they did give you a second just to take a breath or to, again, like puncture the tension in the scene, it was so welcome and it was so earned. So that moment of Indy doing that, it's like we've had this build, and we finally just got to sort of like let our breath go for a moment because he has this great victory, you know.
Well, the other thing
All-
we're talking about, like in terms of it being based on the old serials,
Mhm.
is the little cliffhangers built into the film.
Yeah.
So we have that whole
Yes.
chase sequence, and then we end with Marion's dead, right?
hmm
And of course, the film keeps going, but that's a little cliffhanger for the audience to like. I'm sure the
great.
first time you're seeing it in the cinema in the 80s, you're not. But these days, you're genre savvy enough to know, like,
Yeah.
oh, they didn't
you
just
can't
kill
kill
off the
Yeah.
love interest halfway through a fun
Right.
family film, right? But
Right.
you're along for the ride enough.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's so much in a film like this that you I don't know, if I haven't seen it enough times that I've memorized every single beat. Like I know Marion didn't die, but still,
Yeah.
it's like there's enough that I'm still like, you know, there I can't possibly remember all of it. So that's it's still very fun to watch. Like the part where he's in the pit and then the scarf gets thrown down to him and you don't know that John Rhys Davies is back for a while.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, a lot of stuff. I don't know. It's hard to talk about good movies. It's a lot of
As we've
good stuff.
found
There's
many
a lot of
times.
great stuff.
Watching this movie, I was confused seeing John Rhys Davies this young. I mean, he's not that young. He's always old, I think.
Yeah.
One of those always old
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
But see, I have the other. It's weird for me because I think of him as being in Lord of the Rings like 20 years later, and it's like, but he hasn't changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw a movie with Jeffrey Rush and John Lithgow in it, and they're like in a nursing home, but it's like those are two guys who've always looked old. So I'm just like, oh, I could have probably made this 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
it's basically John Lithgow is terrorizing him with a puppet and like doing things like throwing piss on him and pushing people in wheelchairs and throwing them.
Nursing
It's,
home
I remember
hijinks.
this.
it's called
What
The
was the
Rule
name
of
of
Jenny
it?
Penn. I should
Okay.
name the movie before I start just talking about stuff. Worth a watch. It's a weird horror movie.
Is it a recent film?
Yeah, it just came out.
Because he was playing like so old he has dementia in Planet of the Apes, like, and that's coming on a little bit old now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 12, 13 years, something like that. Yeah.
But Levin, he's gonna be Dumbledore for like 8 seasons of a TV show for whatever reason. Good for him.
Yeah.
Well,
Is he? Okay.
maybe he'll maintain the tradition of. No, I'm not even going to say it. Well, speaking of the Nazis and Dumbledore, listen to the Game Show Harry Potter special where I did the round who said it, J.K. Rowling or a prominent Nazi. And let me tell you, people got a lot of those questions wrong.
Oh my God.
yeah, I listened to that one when it came out, and I got a lot of them wrong too. So
Hey, this is actually Alfred Molina's first role. That's kind
Yes,
of
it
wild.
is.
Oh.
That's
He
coming
looks
out of the
young in
gate
this.
strong. Yeah.
um,
But especially, I've literally seen him in this and the two Spider-Man films. So,
but it's funny
I've
because
seen him like 20 years apart every time.
but the two Spider-Man films, yeah, they are 20 years apart, but he still does kind of look the same age now as he did in 2002 or whatever.
Does he, Mark?
Pretty okay.
They've tried
maybe,
very hard to make him, but he does not.
maybe they CGI'd him a little bit, and also I guess he was in it for like 5 minutes or something. But
Apparently, he did. He literally never met anyone else in that film.
thanks, Marvel. You're doing great.
Well, it was also a COVID movie, right? So,
Oh,
Right.
okay, that's
No,
fair.
I do remember
why
liking
New
that one in
York
the
feels
theater.
empty in that film.
Yeah, I remember watching that in the theater, enjoying it, then watching on Blu-ray a few months ago and stopping after 20 minutes and never getting back to it. So it didn't play so well the second time.
I liked it when it came out because it was like most of it was four bad guys in an apartment being mean to each other, which is exactly what I'd like from a movie. But apparently, yeah, it's not very rewatchable.
It's rewatchable if you just fast forward to the Spider-Man bits.
Okay. I'd
My
like to
experience of
rewatch-
watching that one and the previous one in cinemas is watching them with Matt, who's had a couple of cans, and is being very loud. I'm like, Matt, shut up. And he's like, oh, it's Spider-Man. I'm like, yeah, no, Matt, shut up.
I mean,
Spider-Man.
I'd love to rewatch Willem Dafoe like pile driving Spider-Man through 8 stories of an apartment building, but I'd also like to rewatch The Lighthouse, and I'd rather rewatch The Lighthouse. So I'll probably be watching that.
Oh, but the beauty is you can just go on YouTube and just rewatch the bit where Willem Dafoe puts him through.
This is true.
But yeah, I haven't
maybe an
rewatched the
extended-
film very much.
Now, I've got a couple 1-star reviews where people want to put the filth on this, but does
Oh
anybody
my
want to put
God.
filth on this film?
Nah, man.
I think, I mean, this is like what you'd put in an encyclopedia next to like film, right?
Yeah.
At least a populist film.
Yeah.
I mean, for the I would like to point out that we haven't said numbers yet. Temple of Doom is at 7.5, and God, why isn't the other one showing up? I'm just looking at the wrong page.
6.2 Crystal Skull, 6.5
Thank
for
you.
Dial of Destinary.
Destinary.
And Last Crusade was at 8.1 or something. I looked at when I was
Yes.
on the page.
Thank you.
As far as 1-star reviews, there are only 3 of them, and one of them they meant to write a 10-star review, or they did write a 10-star review, but
Okay,
they clicked the
great.
wrong number.
Okay.
So there's really only 2 that are 1-star reviews. So I guess I could read both of them.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Can't wait.
This one is dated, awful, especially the action scenes. Ever since I became a movie fan, my taste for dazzling action has been cultivated by movies from the late 90s up to the present, such as the Matrix trilogy, Spider-Man, X-Men, Blade, and the awesome Underworld franchise. Having been used to these movies, my standard is high. If something looks fake, I will think of what Sir Ridley Scott said about fake movie effects. I don't frickin' believe it. Today, I finally finished watching the so-called classic, the first installment of the Indiana Jones franchise. It almost put me to sleep twice. The story is slow-paced, but the problem is the movie never picks up the pace. It drags on and on. The opening scene in the cave with the spiders were interesting, and that's it. Gradually, I began sleepwatching. The movie never engages. There is never a moment when the protagonist was in grave danger. Yeah, he got trapped in a tomb, whatever. When I woke up, I was not surprised to see that he had managed to get himself out. The movie was that predictable. Do not think that I cannot appreciate old movies. I like the 1979 timeless classic Alien. That movie does not look dated at all, even seen today due to the way it was shot. Raiders of the Ark, Lost Ark is god awful. It looks dated. So is Star Wars. I like at the end. So is Star Wars.
Okay.
So Star Wars, jerks.
Sure.
22 helpful, 83 not helpful.
That's what this movie is missing. If it was only more Matrix-like in its action scenes,
Throwing
then
in Underworld is what it should be like.
Yeah,
really
Underworld,
undermines
it was-
their point. That's very funny.
then it would be great.
Get Shia LaBeouf to swing around with some monkeys, and you're good to go.
Yeah,
I mean-
that's what you need.
Matrix did change, I think, how Western films depict hand-to-hand combat quite a lot. But
Yeah.
that just meant that I was like, I enjoyed seeing good old-fashioned haymakers instead of white guys doing kung fu. Like, I appreciated seeing this action.
The other one star, by the way, is basically saying the same thing, but with less snark. So,
Yeah.
maybe I'll just skip the second one because it was bland. It was bland hatred. Just it was written by a Nazi from this movie, apparently.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would compare these movies to Mad Max because Mad Max is another like series that really does its own thing. You know, it's sort of it breaks it breaks rules that it really doesn't have to break, like speeding up film, things like that. And this definitely, you know, it's like in the 80s you're not supposed to invoke serials. This is sort of a thing where I think John Williams, we haven't mentioned John Williams, also sort of a secret sauce where you would not see this kind of movie with that kind of score in like 1970. Like that's a very like, I don't know. I'm sure there were other composers operating on his level, but that was just I don't know. I guess I would trace it back to the 2001 soundtrack, where that was sort of big, gigantic orchestral things did not go with
from 100 years
fiction.
prior. I mean, this is
Sure.
written for the movie, so that's a big difference, right? Yeah, like I don't know. I guess in the 70s, who would you hire? And then in 1970, if you're doing Raiders, Goldsmith? I don't know.
I mean, it would probably be like a bunch of bongo drums and stuff. It would be a very sparse, minimal thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, you know, it was not really a thing that was done, but it's like John Williams is the secret sauce for these couple of things. I mean, yeah, you could have gotten Bernard Herrmann to do the Jaws soundtrack and it would have been just fine. But like,
Well,
I don't-
Williams, even as far as like Harry Potter, I think without the music,
yeah.
that film doesn't feel as magical.
makes sense. Even though by then you'd have copycats.
Yeah. I mean, they could have got whoever the new John Williams was.
Yeah, but it was just like that I'm sure the experience of getting that big massive score along with this type of movie was just not a thing at that time. And then I'm sure a bunch of studios just scrambled to try and copy it, and there's a bunch of copycat stuff that none of us ever seen.
What was the last new film any of you saw that had like a theme tune that you can remember?
Yeah, that is a good question.
I went straight to Interstellar, but that's just that's not so much a
All right,
theme. It's
Matt,
just
Whistle Interstellar, I know.
the repeating motif, right?
Yeah,
You know?
I think
Yeah,
because
that's
the
not
one
quite
I
a
went
theme.
to similarly was The Batman, but even that is just like that
Nirvana.
rising note, right?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Blood Feast already did that
dun,
soundtrack.
dun.
I mean, I saw Mickey 17 this past weekend, and I want to say that it had a good score. Don't remember it, so
Yeah.
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 I suppose I'm supposed to be able to remember the Avengers theme, but I can't.
Ba, 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 ba,
Okay.
ba. Yeah, the Avengers theme
Yeah.
did work.
It's the closest to. Yeah,
That was,
I can remember the vibe of it. I just can't remember the notes of it. off the top of my
That
head.
was the composer from Back to the Future. That's
Okay.
probably why, because he's
Silvestri.
Alan
Silvestri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Silvestri also did the No, he didn't. Steve Jablonsky did the Transformers soundtracks, and those are full of bangers.
Jablonski sounds like something you just yell at somebody in New York. Like,
Hey, Jablonsky, I'm walking here.
yeah, Silvestri, we're gonna get more from
well-
on the good list for sure, because he also did Predator, The Abyss. God.
Yeah, he's one of the guys.
And shamefully he did Ready Player One.
So did Spielberg. So
That's a good
Williams was
There you
point.
go. Yep.
Well, I hope that Spielberg got a big paycheck from that and just went and built a big.
I really thought you were going to say
big-
like, well, I hope Spielberg regrets what he did.
I
Might.
do not think he gives a single. I hope he got a big paycheck and went and built a massive sandcastle on his private island.
Is there any other big points you guys want to throw out on Raiders? I mean, I guess there's always
Still
something to say
not
there.
better than Jurassic Park, and still shameful that that's not on our good list.
That's a tough one, man. I've only seen that once. I did like it very much. I do like Jaws better, but
I
that's
think
also controversial.
the
That's a
ultimate-
me thing.
Steven Spielberg film would be if he made a film about a dinosaur and/or shark eating Nazis.
Oh yeah, I'm
One,
all
one
about
can
it.
only hope. Yeah.
I think I'm the only one here who hasn't seen Schindler's List.
Well, you're going to.
I know.
Should have let you keep believing for a little longer that Schindler rides in on a Tyrannosaurus at the end.
I'm weird. I guess my
Oh,
favorite
man.
Spielberg is actually Close Encounters, just because it's slightly weird and gangly and it has issues. Like they could
I've
never
got
make
a lot of
proper
time for
cut of
Close
that one.
Encounters, don't get me wrong, but
It's a great movie. Yeah.
I never really connected with that one, and I need to rewatch it, to be honest.
Don't go in the ship. That's all I gotta say. Don't go in the ship.
Unless I'm going to Disneyland, I don't think I can go in the ship, Matt.
he's saying don't watch the cut that shows you after he goes in the ship.
Oh, that
Oh,
sounds
okay.
that sounds dumb.
Yeah, it is. dumb.
Did he actually
And
direct
they play Disney
Poltergeist?
music. Kind of, sort of.
Because that might be pretty close for me, but
I think they
E.T.
said that. Is it
Pretty
Tobe
good.
Hooper? Hooper did say cut and all that sort of stuff, like action and cut. Otherwise, it sounds like Spielberg was just a very heavy-handed producer on that one.
Okay.
Which
Well,
is, I think, why his normal editor's not on. No, maybe it's not on. Maybe it's E.T. that doesn't have his normal editor because he was off editing Poltergeist. So it's like the one Spielberg where someone else edits it, but that might be E.T., not this one.
Oh, Saving Private Ryan is going to be coming up, and I loved that. So there you go. Another one I've seen once.
Privates.
Yeah.
Yes.
He beat me to saying that.
Oh, Ready Player One is 7.4. That's actually pretty highly rated.
Not
Wow.
everyone hates that one. There are people that are into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
that kid
interesting.
who.
That's
that
why
kid who
we're in
thought
this
the,
world we're in.
Yeah, that kid who didn't like Raiders. He gave like 5 10-star reviews to Ready Player One. Then.
Hey,
It's
Underworld
about-
movies.
Yeah.
I guess we'll wind this one down. John, what's going on in the mission log world?
Let's see here. When does this episode come out?
Late March.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll be let's see. We'll be covering kind of we're coming up on the end of season 6 of Voyager, so I've got a lot on my plate right now doing let's see, Live Fast and Prosper. And then I'm prepping notes for Fury, The Return of Kess.
Ooh.
And then probably take a little bit of a break after we wrap up season 6, maybe bring in some guests, and then headlong into the final season. So looking forward to that. Oh, and then looking forward to the return of Mission Log Live sometime this summer for Strange New Worlds, because I still have to cover the stuff that we didn't cover during the strike toward the end of 2023. So
yeah.
got a lot to do. I think we missed like 4, maybe 5 episodes. So yeah. Got a ways to go.
Controversial opinion.
Yeah, please.
I think that Voyager has the best 7th season of any Star Trek show.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't know. That's controversial. I don't know.
No,
I
I mean,
think-
look, we could definitely talk
That's
about
a-
this from sometime.
Yes.
TNG definitely wasted a lot of good opportunities in its 7th season. DS9, man, I love the ambition of that big arc, and then they just ran headlong into the finale, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? Stop,
Yeah.
come on, come on. Just made a lot of bad choices there.
And
After a lot of very good choices. So,
and I like Ezri, but it was like
Yeah.
we didn't need like that much Ezri, I don't think. But
I've only ever finished TNG, and we've started it
wow.
again because I've converted Mercy to it. So we'll get to
Uh,
Voyager and DS9 eventually.
Voyager has
Well, I mean, I
the-
finished TOS, but that doesn't have 7 seasons.
right, there you go.
Imagine what they'd be
Voyager has-
doing by season 7 after what they were doing in season 3.
Right.
I hate to say it, man, but it feels like they're only doing 5 these days, and I would like 7 seasons of the newer stuff. But
Here's the thing. I mean, with Strange New Worlds, it's so good. And since there wasn't going to be more than 3 seasons of Picard, and then they wrapped up Discovery early, or I guess, to their own satisfaction with 5 seasons, just make Strange New Worlds, make them 15 episode seasons, make them a little longer,
Yeah.
they're already doing season 4. So come on, just stretch it out a little. Why not?
I think it would be fun if they just made Strange New Worlds and just went right into like a remake of the original series.
They're trying to.
Kept
They
calling
might
it
be
back.
trying to
They've
do
got their
that.
Kirk, yeah. So you could kind of
why-
do that.
Why not? I don't know. Yes, I'm loving that show, and I'm excited for it to come. And there's a 4th season of that, so
If Anson
Maybe-
Mount leaves the show, that will
7.
absolutely happen.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, so this
Well.
was happening.
Yeah, I haven't
Um,
seen any of Strange New Worlds yet. I just love just knowing it exists.
It's great.
And that
It's
I have
great.
it
You'll
in
be
my
into
future when I get there, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
I,
You'll
we
enjoy it when you get there.
just last week I watched Best of Both Worlds with Mercy for the first time.
Oh, sweet.
And I wasn't even looking at the screen, I was just watching her. She loves Picard.
Oh, good. Good.
And as we're watching season 3, I've been dropping little like, yeah, he was living out of a suitcase because he didn't know if he was going to keep going after series 3, and trying to give her that atmosphere from back in the day when everyone didn't know if he was coming back for season 4.
that's right. Yeah, we did drop that.
Did it work? Did your scam work?
I think it was blown when the next season starts and he's still doing the voiceover. If they were making that today and being a bit meta, they'd have got Riker to do the voiceover for the first episode of
That's
season
true.
4.
They
Yeah.
definitely would have.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking about how when I was in junior high when that aired, we were like, well, is he coming back?
It's the same trick of
Not
Han
sure.
Solo in the Carbonite, I guess.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that was that
Yeah.
originally that they wrote him.
They
he
didn't know
gonna
if he was
die,
coming back either, yeah.
and they
Wow.
like vetoed it because I think they vetoed it because the toy thing, even though they could sell the toy of him in carbonite. But yeah, no, I think he wanted to die, and then Lucas was like, no.
Well, just to tie back into Indiana Jones, that's why he keeps doing these, because he gets so much more money playing Indiana Jones than Han Solo, because he's,
I also get the
He
impression
gets
he
more.
likes
I think-
playing Indiana Jones a lot
Yeah,
more as well.
I think he
Yeah,
respects
yeah.
these movies more because I think I love the recent quote from him doing whatever Captain America movie where he was like, "All right, let's shoot this piece of shit." It's just like, yeah, cool.
I absolutely had a blast watching a very old Harrison Ford turn into the Hawk, by the way. I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but I had a fantastic time watching it.
Did you guys see there's some this is back at the time that not Crystal Skull, Dial of Destiny came out, and there's some interview that Harrison Ford is doing with a morning show like Today's Show or something, and the interviewer asks him like, hey, have you heard these rumors about maybe a new younger actor coming along and playing Indiana Jones?
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
more Indiana Jones. And Harrison Ford, just high as hell, is sitting in that seat across from him. Because like, they can't do it. Because guess what? Indiana Jones is me. He is so happy with himself. I love that. But that made me think. It really, as we were watching Raiders, kind of made me reflect a little bit that Indiana Jones, obviously a huge franchise, wildly successful, and somehow, even with its less than stellar sequels, they've not beat this into the ground the way that like Star Wars has been beaten into the ground. And I think that is partly because of Harrison Ford, because you gotta have him. Like at one point,
Also, I think, isn't it a
Mhm.
thing that to make an Indiana Jones film, Lucas, Spielberg, and Ford all have veto power?
I think that's
I
right.
believe so.
All
It's
three of
Yeah,
them
like
you're
have
Back
to
to the
absolutely
approve.
right. Yeah,
So,
Future,
yeah.
yeah,
like
yeah.
Back to the
But
Future,
there's
Bob
something
Gale and
oh, right,
everybody
yeah.
else.
But even the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was a great show, and I wish they had made more of it. But even then, like what they have is high quality, doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just solid, and you have to be kind of a mega fan to go seek it out to watch it. But it's really good, and yeah, you got a couple of theme park attractions. Um, but we were talking about video games earlier, and there's not like 20 Indiana Jones video games, and there's not 5 spin-off TV series. There's not any of that stuff. And they've made it into this kind of very special thing, and I hope it stays that way. Hope they don't screw it up.
I put in my notes that if this movie came out now, there would be a new TV series called Top Men, and it would be every week they would open a crate and what is it, Hangar 51 or whatever it is, and you know what? I'd watch it.
Well, they, they,
Uh,
they do they do go back there in Crystal Skull.
yeah,
They
that's
do,
that's how
yeah,
I
Which
knew what it
is
was called.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's how you know that film is sort of playing too much into nostalgia and not doing its own thing.
A friend
Yeah.
of mine who is a professional writer of movies and TV had a pitch with Disney for the one thing that I think would be a good Indiana Jones series, a good spinoff, and I will not share it as long as we are recording.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
I hope it's monkey, the Nazi monkey, Nazi monkeys.
Yeah, The Adventures of Indiana Jones and the Nazi Monkey.
Ooh, right. Well, I guess there's only one way to end this episode, so I'll just do it. That's just where I insert a bang that's
Put the-
already on. I only have to look for it. It's already on my
Like
computer.
you're pointing. Like,
That's because I want once you just look at my finger and think about it, then I'd have a little pause.
When you put the video up, just like CGI something into the corner there, like podcastius.org.
Well, I gotta DM you that song before I forget.
Yeah, do that. I'll put that after the bullet. Yes. What was why do I have the bullet? I shot you at the end of an episode already. Because if you try and make the gun noise into the mic, it'll Zoom will take it out. Or it'll just be
Yeah.
like or something like that. So
Trying to censor us, take the bullet sounds out.
well, as always, thanks for
Silence
joining
us.
in, John.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
when's the
Thanks.
next
Thanks
time
for
your
awesome.
name's
Letting me
here?
revisit one of my all-time favorites.
We'll be getting you in about. I'll be bugging you in 4 to 5 months about Cinema Paradiso, which I've never seen.
Oh, yes. All right, wonderful.
I've never seen it
Yeah.
either. Okay, I'm excited.
Oh.
I'm sure Luke hasn't seen it.
I don't even know what it
It
is.
turns out that he has,
Awesome.
ironically.
And just Mark, while you're on the line, do you want to do Apes tomorrow?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock?
Wait, my 7?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do 8 o'clock. That'd be better.
Okay. It's the horse race. Apes and horses. Planet of the
Oh
Horses.
yeah, horse race. I'm excited. I'm excited because I'm a big fan of like episodes that are sports themed, like baseball episodes, things like that.
Probably
Nice.
different in baseball. Okay. Well, I'll catch you guys later then. And I should probably
right.
stop the recording. Stopping. Goodbye,
Okay.
Patreon folks.
Bye.